I remember somebody asked me, how does an atheist from the south side of Chicago wind up living in Nashville, Tennessee as a born-again Christian working churches? I was at a church last night in New Albany and in Nazarene from clubs like this and from Vegas casinos and from Atlantic City. And how do you wind up working churches? And I got to tell you, 25 years ago when I started comedy in Chicago, this was the last place I expected to ever be is in front of a church. And professing a faith in God, certainly. And what happened was I crawled into an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting 17 years ago, and all I wanted to do was stop drinking. That was it. That was my goal in life, was to stop drinking and try to be a civil human being to my family. I was not a nice man. Trust me. Let's just say I was an angry, bitter, jaded, cynical man, just not nice. And I was harder on my family than anybody. I wasn't nice to many of you people, but I was harder on my wife and kids. And they told me to pray to a God, and they said, pray to this God. And I said, I don't believe in God. And they said, well, find something in this universe that's bigger than you. And I got to tell you, as broken as I was and beat up as I was, that was the hardest thing I had to do, was find something larger than me in the universe. Isn't that amazing? Is just how the human ego can be so large. And I could not get on my knees. I would not get on my knees and pray to anything. And after 7 or 8 years on that journey, and I read a lot of books. I read all the self-help books I could get. I was reading Ayn Rand and trying to get a hang on to something to make me a better human being. I really was. I was trying as hard as I could. I went to therapy, talked to people about my anger, my rage, all this stuff, and it just wasn't working. I went through my whole life trying to feel like I belonged on this planet somewhere, and it just wasn't working. And God puts people in your lives, and trust me, if you're on a journey, pay attention to the people you come. Even the guy that hits you with his car is maybe there for a reason, you know? And I met some interesting people when I look back on this. God put a man in my life, but God knows his own, man, and he knew I wouldn't talk to this man. I was a shallow, vacuous, empty vessel. I really was. And I didn't have anything to talk to this man about until I found out, because of his wealth, he had access to some of the nicest golf courses in America. He was actually a member of Muirfield Village here, and that's all I needed to hear. He was my new best friend. What I didn't know about him was he was a fundamentalist Christian, and I didn't know that. And we're sitting on the fairway one day just talking. And we're talking about life, we're talking about this, we're talking about that, and then he brings up the Bible. And I said, don't give me the Bible, I don't want to hear the Bible. And he says, what do you mean? And I said, I'm an atheist, I don't believe in that garbage. And he says, well, what is it about the Bible you don't think is true? And I said, I don't know, I never read it. And he said, well, you're not an atheist, you're a moron. And I have to tell you, I would have hit him, except that I would have lost access to Muirfield Village. And I wasn't going to do that. And I asked him to explain himself, and he said, well, to be honest with you, a true atheist is not only a biblical scholar, but is scholarly in all the face of the earth. And after a long intellectual journey has come to the conclusion that there is no God of the universe. You, on the other hand, want to circumvent the entire intellectual process and just come to the conclusion that there's no God. That's lazy and moronic. I didn't know what to say. So at the end of the week, he said to me, there's a guy in Denton, Texas, a man named Tom Nelson. He said he teaches the Bible the way I think you would like it taught. And I'd like to sign you up for some study tapes. And I said, will it cost me anything? And he said, nope. And I said, well, then knock yourself out. I'm not paying a nickel for that. And then he said, can I send you a Bible? And I said, hey, I've tried reading them. And believe me, I did. I opened them up in hotel rooms. I had read somewhere the Bible was the living, breathing Word of God. I didn't get it. I'd open it up, look at it. Come on, do something for me. I'd read. I couldn't get it. I didn't understand it. So he sends me the tapes, sends me the Bible. Time goes by, and God implodes my life. He was imploding my life. My marriage was falling apart. I couldn't deal with my life. Honestly, I tried. I'm telling you, if there was a book out there that I could have read that would have given me the tools that I needed to function in this life, I would have gotten it, because I have stacks of them, and I couldn't figure out how to make my wife happy. That was all I wanted, was to make her happy. We quit fighting. If you think acrimony is bad in your marriage, wait till you get to apathy. Apathy is the absolute worst. It's not even a feeling. It's just this, we couldn't even deal with each other in the hallway. We would like sneak by each other, and we're sleeping in the same bed, and I'm reading, and my back is to her, she's watching TV, or the nights she would read, I'd watch TV. I mean, this is our life together. And somehow we're getting through day to day, but I don't know how. And we're in a parking lot at Toys R Us, and she says, you want a divorce? That's what she said to me. You want a divorce? We're buying toys for Christmas. And that's how she said it. as if you want to take out the trash. I mean, I look back on that time and I just go, wow. Who were those people? We look at that and we go, who were those people? But God has to move you to a place where you can pay attention. It has to all go away. You have to give it all up before he can work the restoring process. So I went home, and it says in the Bible, what Satan intends for evil, God will use for good. My biggest character flaw is procrastination. And Tammy had put it on me to fill out the divorce papers. And it wasn't like, we had anything to salvage. I figured, I'll fill them out. But I got thank you cards from 1988 I haven't mailed, so. So I just went home and I said, yeah, okay, we'll get around to it. And I had moved into the guest room, And this is how we were living. I'd go on the road, do my comedy, and I'd come in and moved into the guest room. And we're raising these kids and we're existing. And as God would have it, he moves this woman into my wife's life. My wife shows dogs for a living, and she's at a dog show, and this battered woman shows up. She's just beat, and Tammy says, you can't go back to that man. And she says, I got nowhere else to go. And Tammy says, well, we have a guest room. So she gives the woman my room, and I got to move back into the bedroom. And now we have a chance. This is an opportunity now. We have given up. We have let go of everything, and now we're going to talk. And believe me, it was difficult. There was a point after a couple nights I looked at her. She wouldn't even look at me. I was talking to her back for 2 days. I mean, I'd say something, and I finally walked over across the room and put my hands on her shoulders, and she flinches, and she says, no, I can't. I said, will you look at me? She said, I can't. How do you get to a place in your life with someone that you love? I know I love this woman. I know I do. I had therapists tell me I love her. For God's sakes, I love this woman, and we're at a point we can't even look at each other. She says, I can't. Jeff, I just fill out those papers. I just want to get this, I want to get it over with. And that was what okay. I went out in the kitchen and, filling them out. And there was nothing to give away. We lost it all in a bankruptcy. I mean, we lost it all, everything. I don't know if any man in this room knows what it's like to wake up in the morning with so much anxiety. As soon as your eyes pop open, it's just like the world caves in on you. And you walk around and you just want to know where it's coming from. I said it would have been so much easier if I woke up in the morning and some man just started beating me with a stick. At least I knew where the pain was coming from. And people would go, why are you so miserable? Because he keeps hitting me. My wife would ask me, why are you so miserable? And I'd go, I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to be. I don't know. She goes, why can't you enjoy your job? I go, I don't know. What's the point? What is the point? Don't you care? There's a point. There's a purpose to this. And my wife would go, no. I just want my family. 10 minutes from divorce court, she says, pull over. I can't. I want to rethink it. And I said, babe, if you're in this, you're in for the long haul. I can't be playing this anymore. I can't. Let's just cut it and go. She says, no, Jeff, I don't know why. I don't know why. We know why now, but we didn't know then why. But anyway, we go home. 8 months goes by. It's not getting much better. It's getting a little better. It's not much. She comes to me and she says, I'm going to Ohio with the kids. And I said, we can't afford to go to Ohio. She says, you're not invited. And I said, well, how are you going to get there? She said, my father's going to pay for the trip. We're taking the boys, and we're going for the summer. And she says, well, I'm gone. You're going to get your life together. I'm coming up on my 40th birthday, and I'm telling you, I have no clue. I have no idea. I went to Domino's Pizza to get a job to deliver pizzas, and they wouldn't hire me. You want to talk about humbling? You're a 40-year-old man with a mortgage and kids and wife, and you figure I'm lowering myself to get this job. And the kid looks at my application and says, comedian. That's it? That's the only job you've had? And I said, yeah. He said, what do you want me to do with this? And I said, we're not splitting atoms. We're delivering pizzas, for God's sakes. Apparently my interviewing skills had suffered over the years, too. But it was like, my God, don't make me beg for a job delivering pizzas. I go home and tell my wife I'm unemployable. I can't take it anymore. Anyway, she packs the kids up. And before she leaves, she grabs these tapes that I've been collecting. And she puts them in a pile. And she says, you either listen to these things or I'm throwing them out. And again, I had no reason to say, keep them. I hadn't listened. I hadn't even thought about them in a year and a half, 2 years. I don't know. I'd just been collecting them and throwing them on the different houses. And that little voice, the little quiet voice says, yeah, leave them there. But leave them on the floor. I'll get to them. I don't care, And a few days goes by, I'm walking by the tapes, and I said, little voice says, open one up. And I said, okay. I start to walk, another voice says, well, for what? There's nothing in there for you. Nothing. And then that starts, that whole dialogue of what's in there. I want to get it, I want to get it. When I read about demonic realms and angelic realms in the Bible, I went right back to this moment in my life. Because it was a struggle to get in there, because something knew what was in them things. And I ripped one open. I finally got over there after 5 minutes. I'm 40 years old, and I'm having an argument with myself in the front room. I used to say that's why I got drunk in the morning. It was crowd control. But it just... Maybe I am nuts. I don't know. But I'm trying to get into this. I rip one open. I throw them on the floor, and I go there. There's a couple tapes, and I go, all right, what am I going to do now? Pick one up, Ecclesiastes. And I couldn't even pronounce it. It was Ecclesiastes or whatever. I said, I don't know what this is. I got to get that Bible. Where's that Bible? Oh, it's in the junk drawer. That's where I left it. So I pulled the Bible out of the junk drawer. I put the tape into the machine, and I started listening to this pastor from Denton, Texas, talk about what Solomon, this wise old man, 78 years old, wrote Ecclesiastes at the end of his life about life on earth. And it starts out with meaningless, meaningless. It's all meaningless. That got my attention. Boom. Because that's the way I felt. I couldn't find anything worth meaning in this earth. Really, nothing. Not in career, not my wife, not my kids, not my cars, not my home, nothing. And he starts talking about it. And basically, Solomon's conclusions were that life without God will have no meaning. And I didn't understand that. And as he began to explain about the creation, in order to enjoy the creation, you have to know the one that created it. And if happiness were an act of will, we'd all be happy. Because that's basically what we want out of life. Everybody wants to be happy. You ask them. So if it was an act of human will, why aren't we happy? We're the most medicated species on the planet. We really are. And all it is, what I found out, what he said, was something has to come outside of us, inside of us, change our hearts, and then work its way out through the act of service to others. And I was blown away. For the first time in my life, I heard something that made sense. And I believe it was because that day God chose to turn it on inside me. That was the light switch. Bam, it went on. And I was like, wow. This is it. This is what I was looking for. I wanted purpose. I wanted some reason to get up in the morning and put one foot in front of the other. And then I said, without God, I have no. Well, how do I get God? So I opened another tape, put another tape, another tape, another tape, because I'm a compulsive, addictive personality. I was just, I'm not kidding you, man. And I'm making notes in my Bible, and I'm going like, man, this is the greatest stuff I've ever heard. At one point, I wanted to run on my lawn and hold the Bible up. Have you read this thing? Wow, what a book. Man, this is amazing. Wow. And I don't know why it was 40 years or whatever. This was a 13-year journey up to this point. I'm not telling you, this did not come overnight. I didn't get the road to Damascus epiphany that Paul got. I'm telling you, man, I sought this. And I went out and I laid in fetal position. I used to go to the desert and scream up at God, all right, if you're up there, show me, And it was today, that day, bam. And I'm listening to these tapes, and then he gets to the Jesus that he knew. The one he says he was at a prison. And I'll never forget this line. I love this line. He was at a prison doing a sermon, and he said to the prisoners in this prison, he said, I would not walk across this stage to tell you about my religion, Christianity, but I will crawl on my hands and knees through broken glass to hell and back to tell you about the love of my Savior, Jesus Christ. And I heard that as a man. As a man, I said, that's what I want. I want something. I want something that I want to die for. I believe this, that a man is not, and I'm talking about a man, I'm not a woman, but I'm a man, and I said a man is not fully alive till he has something in his life that he's willing to give his life up for. And I'd like to think I'd give my life up for my wife and kids, but I'll tell you something, I'll give my life up now for my Savior and my right to profess this faith, because I'm telling you, it transformed my life.